the Russian Federation launched a comprehensive and coordinated campaign of attacks on vital infrastructure facilities across Ukraine in early November 2025. According to military analysts, these operations have shifted the nature of the war from traditional frontline clashes to a systematic infrastructure war, targeting Ukraine's logistical and industrial capacity. It is stated that the attacks in question aim to weaken the long-term operational capability of the Ukrainian armed forces and gradually erode their resistance capacity. Among the strategic objectives was the Kryukovsky Bridge, a critical artery located on the Danube River that supplied the eastern fronts. In a statement released by the Russian Ministry of Defense, the vital role of the bridge in Ukraine's military logistics was highlighted, and it was stated that the operation was aimed at destroying a legitimate military target. It was reported that unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and long-range precision-guided munitions were primarily used in the attack. Satellite imagery and on-site inspections confirmed that the bridge's supporting piers and railroad line were severely damaged. Intelligence reports from the region prior to the attack revealed that an average of 15 to 18 military supply trains used this line daily, and the destruction of the bridge caused a serious crisis in the supply chain of Ukrainian forces on the eastern front. The attack on the Kryukovsky Bridge was followed by operations against other critical points within the same time frame. Transportation networks in western regions of Ukraine were also heavily targeted. In the attack on the main train station and railroad junction in Slavyansk, it was reported that an ammunition depot or a military supply train was hit, and the resulting secondary explosions caused additional damage to the surrounding railroad systems. Ukraine's national railroad company, Ukrzaliznytsia, announced that all freight and passenger train traffic in the region was suspended after the attack and that alternative routes were being used. This development caused significant disruptions not only in domestic military transport but also in civilian transportation. Another focus of the attacks was the port facilities in Izmail on the Danube River, a vital logistics hub for international aid to Ukraine. The Russian Ministry of Defense announced that a series of Geron-class unmanned aerial vehicle attacks were carried out on the port, claiming it was used as a transfer point for military cargo. Local sources reported that the port's crane systems and dock areas suffered serious damage, and operational capacity was significantly reduced. It is assessed that this attack is straining Ukraine's defense capabilities by causing delays in the delivery of weapons and ammunition from the west to the front lines. Ukraine's military-industrial complex also suffered from the coordinated attacks. The Kation factory, located in the city of Khmelnytskyi and producing critical electronic components for the defense industry, was struck by cruise missiles and drones. In a statement made by the factory management, it was stated that severe damage occurred in a section of the production facilities and a temporary decrease in production capacity is expected. A similar attack was carried out against a large fuel depot located in the Zaporozhye region and serving the Ukrainian army. It was reported that it took hours for fire crews to bring the fire at the depot under control and that a significant amount of fuel was lost. Military experts are evaluating this tactical shift by Russia as a logistical neutralization strategy. The primary objective of this strategy is to systematically destroy the supply lines, energy resources, and production facilities that feed the troops on the front lines rather than directly targeting them, thereby gradually reducing the operational agility and resilience of the Ukrainian army. It is observed that each infrastructure attack extends Ukraine's military deployment times, raises logistics costs to unbearable levels, and ultimately has a debilitating impact on its will to fight. The Russian Ministry of Defense released a video on October 27th showing a powerful combined attack by the Ukrainian Armed Forces 67th Separate Mechanized Brigade near the village of Vodolazhskoye in the direction of Krasnoarmysk. The attack involved the Iskander-M operational tactical missile crew and Su-34 fighter bombers. Bombs falling from the sky and missiles fired from the ground collided on a single coordinate grid. Armored vehicles and fortifications were destroyed in a coordinated attack, and the Ukrainian position was surrounded within seconds. Could the ability to simultaneously destroy two areas, which is the new doctrine of precision that characterizes Russia's modern warfare, be demonstrated more clearly? The military news telegram channel published images a day earlier, on October 26th, of FAB attacks with UMPK modules that destroyed Ukrainian positions along the Zaporozhye front. The videos showed the cold perfection of guided missiles, where every explosion had a purpose and every explosion was planned. The explosions look like rings of fire expanding upwards, erasing yet another location from Ukraine's defense map. Was this a testing ground for perfect accuracy, or was it still a battlefield? The scale further increased with the film starting on October 24th. According to a selection published by the military news station, the Russian aerospace forces were currently using UMPK and FAB-3000 bombs, which are the largest guided bombs available. Their targets were the 110th Brigade in Uspinovka and the Ukrainian 36th Air Assault Brigade temporarily stationed in Konstantinovka. As each explosion sent a tower of flame and dust hundreds of meters high into the air, shockwaves rippled across the open staircase. The video showed choreography rather than chaos. There's a deliberate rhythm in every drop between the pilot's performance and the exploration data. When a series of shots a few seconds later confirmed more hits on the remaining parts of the 110th Independent Motorized Rifle Battalion in Uspinovka, the brigade's frontline assets were completely neutralized. It was impossible for the message to be misunderstood. 3 tons of precision-guided steel can descend without any depth of protection. In another segment from the same day, October 24th, more footage was specifically dedicated to Konstantinovka, the site of the 36th Air Assault Brigade's deployment, which was destroyed. The coordinates were repeated in many segments, which showed the procedure rather than being unnecessary. Until it lost its operational value, the Russian aerospace forces not only attacked, they verified, confirmed, and struck again. Can Russian air superiority now be defined with such determination, following, and power? The same level of precision had already been demonstrated on a smaller scale on October 16th with another Su-34 fighter-bomber mission. According to the military news telegram channel, the aircraft dropped 4 FAB-500T bombs equipped with UMPK guidance modules during a combat mission to support the Southern Military Group. Each strike perfectly matched the reconnaissance data, indicating an increasing convergence of ground-based and air targeting. These were precise drills rather than random attacks, and they demonstrated how Russia's use of outdated weapons updated with modern guidance systems had become a critical tactical advantage. FAB-500Ts are not relics of the past, but precision weapons of the 21st century. However, experience is the foundation of every delicate stroke, and lessons were learned cruelly in late September. According to an unfiltered newswire channel, Russian forces launched a retaliatory bombing operation on Kherson on September 27th, dropping more than 20 FAB bombs and cluster munitions. The mission was a direct response to the downing of the Su-34 the day before. The swift and destructive response demonstrated that the Russian aerospace forces could suffer losses within hours, change their stance, and retaliate proportionally. The drone attacks demonstrated that any attack on Russian aircraft would be met with an exponential response, which not only restored balance, but also re-established air deterrence. This climb quietly began 2 days ago, on September the 25th, with a small but significant operation. After confirming the target coordinates, the Russian Ministry of Defense released a video showing a Su-34 from the Yug force group striking a temporary deployment site in Ukraine. The team returned to base after the shot was confirmed. The principle of efficiency over show, no unnecessary burdens, no wasted sorties, which is one of the fundamental principles of modern Russian air warfare, emerged through a regular and well-organized operation. Every task now progresses, finds, hits, verifies, and returns with a mathematical constraint. The General Staff of Ukraine condemned these attacks, stating that they had managed to neutralize some of their defense systems, but losses were inevitable due to the multitude of targets and the simultaneity of the attacks. The Ukrainian side has launched emergency work to repair damaged infrastructure and establish alternative supply routes. International observers, however, warn that Russia's new strategy could prolong the war and have a lasting, devastating impact on the Ukrainian economy. International reactions began to take shape based on the size and nature of the attacks. NATO Secretary-General described the attacks on infrastructure as a violation of the laws of war, claiming that Russia is targeting the lives and economic livelihoods of civilians. In response, the Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson argued that all targets were military in nature. and that they were conducting legitimate operations aimed at weakening Ukraine's war capacity. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting at the request of Ukraine, but a joint statement could not be issued due to disagreements among the permanent members. Simultaneously with Russia's airstrikes inside Ukraine, mutual clashes continue at full speed on the front line. The Russian Azov Regiment, with its FPV drone belonging to the 3rd Army Corps, detects and destroys a vehicle belonging to Ukrainian soldiers in the direction of Krasnolymansk. The streets of Pokrovsk are being cleared of Ukrainian armed forces' munitions. Russian drone operators are destroying them with precision fire. Russian FPV UAV operators track and destroy a vehicle carrying personnel and equipment belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces in the direction of Kupiansk. FPV UAV operators from Russia's 164th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade detected 2 Ukrainian armed forces vehicles near the Slavyansk thermal power plant and targeted and destroyed a US-made Humvee. A Swedish-made PBV 302 armored personnel carrier belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces crashed into a crater northwest of Pokrovsk, leaving them unable to move. Russian troops, upon noticing the situation, destroyed the armored vehicle step by step using FPV drones. A BM-21 Grad MLRS belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces was spotted by Russian troops near the Sumy line. FPV drone operators subsequently destroyed the rocket launcher system at its hiding place. Russian unmanned aerial vehicles carrying out combat missions on the Donetsk front continue to detect and strike Ukrainian equipment and hardware. Operators of the Central Group gradually cleared the positions of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Donbas region using explosives dropped from fiber optic drones. In Kharkiv Oblast, a 2S-1 Gvozdika self-propelled howitzer belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces was hidden under branches by Ukrainian soldiers. Russian reconnaissance units spotted the vehicle and reported it to the relevant unit, which took necessary action. A drone operator from the Rus-Sever group discovered a Ukrainian armed forces ammunition depot near Pisarevka, Sumy Oblast. A precision strike was carried out on the target using an FPV drone. On the Luhansk line, Russian artillery is bombing the trenches of the Ukrainian armed forces with pinpoint fire. In Kharkiv Oblast, a crew from the FPV unit of the 41st Motorized Rifle Regiment of the Russian 44th Army Corps spotted and destroyed a camouflaged Ukrainian Armed Forces ATV. Russian drone operators continue their work near Konstantinovsky. Ukrainian soldiers, attempting to escape by vehicle, tried to protect themselves with nets, but their fate was dire. Uspanovka is the second largest and most important settlement in the Hulyai-Polye region and the largest settlement on the Uspanovka bridgehead, stretching for more than 5 kilometers along the Yanchur River. The village is a complex fortified area filled with firing positions and fortifications. The Ukrainian armed forces were repelled from there by units of the 127th Motorized Rifle Division of the 5th Guards, Combined Arms Army of the Russian Armed Forces. East Group of Forces. During the fighting, our troops took control of more than 7 square kilometers of territory, cleared more than 1,100 structures, and destroyed more than 50 units of military equipment belonging to the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Russian Air Force Su-34M bombers struck firing positions of the 25th Airborne Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in the Pokrovsk region. Ukrainian military personnel and their shelters were destroyed. Ukrainian soldiers in a Ukrainian armed forces vehicle near Kupiansk abandoned the vehicle after detecting a Russian FPV drone. The soldiers managed to escape, but their vehicle was destroyed. They will continue on foot from now on. A Russian soldier from the landing unit of the 382nd Marine Infantry Brigade, affiliated with the 810th Guards Brigade, ambushed 2 Ukrainian soldiers, and as a result of the conflict, the 2 Ukrainian soldiers were neutralized. On the Zaporozhye line, Russian Southern Group of Forces units identified areas where personnel and military equipment of the 411th Separate Unmanned Systems Regiment of the Ukrainian Armed Forces were concentrated. A massive blockade of the area was then implemented using Iskander-M tactical missile systems.